It is making headlines nationwide, and we are putting it into focus tonight. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled embryos created by in vitro fertilization, or IVF, can be considered children. Now, leaders are moving quickly on both sides of the aisle, pushing this IVF issue and what this ruling means for those looking to start a family. In Missouri and Illinois, lawmakers are already at odds on exactly what to do next. In Missouri, State Senator Tracy McCreary from St. Louis County has filed legislation to protect IVF treatments. McCreary says Missouri law is similar to Alabama's when it comes to women's health care options, and that a law could be used to put fertility treatments at risk. The bill also includes an emergency clause ensuring it takes effect immediately upon Governor Parsons' signature if that does pass. The Columbia University Fertility Center says close to 2% of babies in the U.S. are born using IVF. In St. Louis, First Alert 4's Caroline Hecker meets with one woman using this technology to start a family.
And then, yeah, Hannah's all up here.
Robin Utz knows the absolute joy that can come from IVF. Her daughter Hannah was born 5 years ago.
This is from my baby shower for Hannah.
But the 7-year road to get there was full of devastation, heartache, and anxiety.
I remember when I was first told I would need to do IVF, barely making it out of the office before I just burst into tears.
After her first round of IVF, she miscarried at 9 weeks. During the next round, her embryos were genetically tested and cleared, leaving she and her husband a 1% chance of something going wrong. It did. At her 21-week anatomy scan.
We learned that my daughter had a kidney disease that meant that amniotic fluid would not flow through the uterus and her lungs would never develop. It is 100% when bilateral, incompatible with life.
She had an abortion in 2016 following that diagnosis. She says feelings of judgment and outrage prompted her to share her story.
At that point, thinking that if politicians just knew my story, then they would want to write better laws. And I have since learned that that is not their intent at all.
In 2018, after a third round of IVF and $100,000 later, she got pregnant, giving birth to Hannah in 2019. Her final embryo transfer took place in New York, and that's where her frozen embryos remain.
We have intentionally never moved them to Missouri because I fear exactly what happened in Alabama happening here in Missouri, and that I will not be able to make legal decisions around those embryos.
Dr. Sherman Silber is the director of the Infertility Center of St. Louis. With thousands of rounds of IVF treatments under his belt, he says Missouri law protects providers from criminal liability.
The Missouri law specifically states that the embryo in a dish is property and it is not a living being.
But Utz says she fears that could be short-lived as she celebrates her miracle baby.
This is the day she was born.
In Webster Groves, Caroline Hecker, First Alert 4.
So Dr. Silber, who you just saw there in the story, now joining us here in studio to talk further about this. So thank you so much, Doctor, for being here. And first, I want to get your take on the Alabama Supreme Court decision and how that decision is impacting families who might be deciding whether IVF is for them.
Well, people need to have IVF. In this current era that we're in, infertility is a worldwide epidemic, and IVF turns out to be the most effective solution for most cases of infertility. And so we're going to keep on doing IVF, and actually we're protected in Missouri. I'd explain that to you. But in Alabama, it's a disaster, and because doctors don't want to be criminally liable if they drop a petri dish. It'd be terrible if they did that, but accidents could occur, and insurance won't cover criminality. So they could be prosecuted for murder. Furthermore, if couples have extra embryos and they don't want to use them, maybe they want to give them up for adoption, or maybe they just want to destroy them. If the doctors would do that, they would be easily prosecuted for first-degree murder. So it's a crazy situation. And the Alabama court decision was not really based on law. It was just based on one particular religious view. And so many religions have so many varied views about the very difficult question of when life begins. So that's why it's really could affect a lot of IVF centers will just stop working because they don't want to risk being criminals.
Well, and Doctor, you have decades of experience in this field. How have you seen fertility treatments really change over the years, and where do you see things going in the future, especially after a court decision like that one? Are embryos safe?
Well, our embryos are very, very, very safe. And we can get very good insurance because the insurance companies have seen how safe they are. We have systems, fail-safe systems, so I'm really not worried about the security of frozen embryos. And even mix-ups, which used to get a lot of publicity, are impossible with the kind of current technology we have. So it's very, very safe. However safe anything could be, there could be a risk of some error occurring, and all patients know that. And the doctors don't want to go to jail for manslaughter if some kind of error occurs. In Missouri, I think we're safe because Missouri law specifies that and we have a very strong anti-abortion law in Missouri, but that law also in Missouri specifies that the embryo that's not inside the woman is just property. In Missouri law, it's considered property. It's not considered to be a baby until it's inside the woman.
Let's talk about a little bit about the states. Today, we are hearing from Missouri lawmakers as well, showing the debate could happen in the Show Me state. I want to take a listen here.
I think that's what we're realizing is it's nuanced and complicated, and we're going to have to deal with that as a society.
When you get into frozen embryos, we're essentially playing God in those cases.
And State Senator Mike Moon saying there that we're essentially playing God in these types of situations. So what is your response to those against the idea of conception happening in the lab?
When they accuse us of playing God, what happens if we do open heart surgery and save patients' lives? What happens if we put them on medicine, cancer treatment medicine? Are we playing God because we're curing them? It's an expression that it creates a great deal of emotion. All we're doing is helping people have children and to build families. It's a very conservative concept, really. People want to have families. They want to raise children. They want to bring their views into the future. They want to. It's the most important thing inside the heart of almost everyone. And even women in their 20s or 30s, or men in their 20s or 30s who think they don't want to bother with children, by the time they're 40 or 50, they wish they had children. It's just universal. And so all that doctors are doing and embryologists are doing with IVF is allowing them to fulfill their goals and their purpose in life. And most religions feel that IVF is a great thing because it allows family building. It allows you to be fruitful and multiply, which is the first commandment in the Bible. So we don't think it's a matter of playing God. We don't think being doctors are playing God. We're just doing what we're supposed to do to try to help people.
Doctor, really appreciate your take on this important issue. Thank you. And we want to hear you at home, your take on this story and bill, along with your opinions on our investigations, things that you think need to be uncovered, and whether you agree with what's being reported. You can email us at yourtake@firstalerts4.com.